you and I serve the same client that way in a different place, because I do the marketing side and you do the operations efficiency side of basically the same problem. And the problem is hustle only gets you so far. Yeah. I love working with the person who understands the hustle, because it means they take the actions. However, hustle only gets you so far. If you don't make the switch to strategy,
yes,
your options are stay where you are, implode, or take a different way.
Hello, I'm Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, and I want to welcome you to Ready Yet? If all you needed was a step-by-step plan of what to do, you could buy a book on how to succeed and you would be all set. But here's the rub. You'll never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. The Ready Yet podcast is dedicated to those who are ready to become the person who succeeds, ready to become the person who steps into more, and ready to become the best version of themselves. In the I'm Ready interview series, join me for inspiring conversations with people who figured out who they needed to be in order to achieve their dreams, and were brave enough to be that person.
Welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast, where I get to bring you stories of entrepreneurs and who they had to be and what they had to do to get to where they are, and what they see next for themselves, and hopefully give you some inspiration, some motivation, and even shorten your learning curve by telling you what not to do. Learn from everyone else's mistakes, right? So I'm really excited about today's guest. It's like a sister from another mister type of thing. So I met Tammy Olson through a client of mine. She's like, oh my God, you got to meet this person. And it's just like, I don't believe in competition. So when Caitlin, my client, said, but she's another coach, I'm happy to meet people. You never know what anyone can, do for you, do with you. You can help them. So, and I love talking to like-minded people. So I'm very excited that you're joining me here today. Why don't you tell everyone a little more officially who you are and what you do?
My pleasure. And I agree. There's a big wide world out there. So I am super excited to be invited to this conversation. Thank you for that. I love talking to anybody who wants to talk about career change, leaving corporate. That's my jam. Now that I've done it, I feel like I can, share some wisdom. So really happy to be here. My name is Tammy Olson, and my company, I'm the founder of Northwoods Virtual Solutions. I'm an operations strategist, and I work with small business owners who are waking up in the middle of the night with too many things falling through the cracks. And they're probably at a pivot point in their business, and they're trying to understand if what they need is new technology, better processes, or maybe it's to add headcount. Yes. Before I started my own company, I spent decades working in corporate roles that included sales and marketing and corporate events and meeting and travel management. Most recently, I was a director of client account managers for a global corporate travel management company, and my team and I supported Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 clients in life sciences and technology. So
you talk like I do. I as I'm listening to your, I have the same thing where like my last corporate position on paper, massively impressive. And what what I love about the entrepreneurial world is how simple and straightforward. Like if I would tell people my last title, Senior Vice President of Business Development for the largest long-term care insurance only wholesaler in the country. Oh my God, like how does that even fit on a card? I don't even, and then you get out into the entrepreneurial world and it's like, I help you create efficient operations so you can make more money. Like
it's so simple. And Erin, I think that that's one of the things that I really tripped up. If you want a cautionary tale, I'll give you one right out of the gate.
Get right into them. Yes.
Because I came out and I was all corporate speak. I had decades speaking these languages and business acumen and commercial blah, blah, blah. And I knew that small business owners, like, because they were telling me, my friends were like, hey, I could really use some help. So I knew that there was a need for it. But I come out of the gate And I had to like stop using the corporate words. I was so corporatized. People were like, I don't know what you mean.
Right.
Like,
I don't know what you're
can you help me or not? Because frankly, this is the thing. I guess this is the cautionary tale. Okay, this is probably an unpopular statement. Nobody cares.
Oh, that's my
in
favorite
entrepreneur land. Nobody cares. Can you do what I need done? Yes, good. I don't care about the other stuff.
I don't care. And that, so as a writer and a marketer in my background, one of my favorite books on marketing and writing is called Nobody Reads Your Shit. Like, nobody cares.
No. No.
And I watch so many, one of the things I said that connected you and I right away is that what made you great at your job will kill you as an entrepreneur. And the two things you have already hit upon is coming out headstrong. Like, that just freaks other people out. And number two is talking in these non-meaning words.
But do you think if you're a word nerd,
yes,
like absolutely. We are, sometimes those are the right words. And so it's hard for me sometimes to get out of my own way, because I actually talk like that sometimes. Like, that makes sense to me, or I'm so institutionalized to that kind of language that I really had to learn. I just had to learn a different language.
Well,
and
not only a different language, but a different subject matter. It's not once you're out of corporate, it is not about credentials, and it's all about outcomes. No. It's about outcomes.
Yes.
And outcomes are actually very simple. You
make
more money. You make 15% more. You make they're very, you save 6 hours. Their outcomes are extremely simple.
Yeah, they are. And it's deceptively simple.
Yes, because it ain't easy.
Because it's simple, but it's not easy. And especially when you're the business owner, when you're in the throes of it. And I also really appreciate that the business owners, we're scrappy. I mean, I'm just like everyone else. Like, I'm going to figure it out. And you bootstrap yourself. But when that point comes that you're like, I can't bootstrap myself one more time, or I love being at that point where these business owners are like, I don't want to, I can't, I'm fine. I don't want them to get to the point where they're like throwing in the towel and ready to jump off the bridge. Like, could we back it up a few steps? Could you maybe engage me when you're feeling a little constriction?
Like, it's coming.
When you're feeling...
You and I serve the same client that way in a different place, because I do the marketing side and you do the operations efficiency side of basically the same problem. And the problem is hustle only gets you so far. Yeah. I love working with the person who understands the hustle, because it means they take the actions. However, hustle only gets you so far. If you don't make the switch to strategy, your options are stay where you are, implode, or take a different way. But it's very hard. What you mentioned about, we're scrappy. We kind of worked so hard to get to where we are. It's hard to believe that's not the way to get to the next level.
Yes. And I also find with my clients that it's hard for them to conceive that someone else could help them. What I mean by that is a lot of times doing this work with them, and eventually we identify those things. These are the things they're your job to do. You need to do this. This is the stuff where we're going to build some efficiencies. There are some automations, process, whatever, that can take over. This is the work that you need to stop doing, and you need to get yourself a resource, whether you hire someone, probably not likely, you need a VA, you need some external resource. And they're like, here's the thing. Oh, but I don't really mind doing that. Stop.
Right.
You don't mind doing it, but
you don't mind making more money. Right.
No, and it's distracting you from the work that you really do need to do to make more money, the things that only you can do. So there's that notion that I kind of don't mind doing it, or worse yet, that it's inconceivable that I could hire someone to do this thing that I've been doing so close and so well all by myself.
They hold on too tight. And the other thing we see so much is it's actually a fear-based response. because if you were to let go of all the crap that you shouldn't be doing, that really just leaves the scary work left, which is getting out there, getting visible, selling more, talking to other human beings, owning your brilliance. So it's what's interesting is the stuff that you shouldn't be doing once you reach a certain level is actually much more time consuming, but less scary than the stuff you should be doing. So it's very easy to hide in the busy.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I mean, honestly, I'm just like, anybody who's listening, I am busy when I don't want to do scary things. And so I challenge myself, like can't see my desk. I have sticky notes all around my desk because that helps me. But there are these sticky notes are like, is this action getting you closer to your goals? Like this thing, whatever it is. And I'll look at that and go, Argh!
Right. That's one of my daily reflection. What is the most direct path to the outcome?
Yeah. Stop with the busy work.
Stop with the busy. So I have a question. I want to back up because one of my favorite questions for people, I often, if not perpetually always, liken leaving corporate and going into entrepreneur is as a jumping off a cliff, or you're being pushed off the cliff. At some point you're falling off the cliff. So were you pushed? Did you jump?
Oh my God. So I jumped, and I am very, very grateful that I jumped. When I was got to a point in my career, so there were some precipitating circumstances. I lost my father after a decline with Lewy body dementia, and 4 months later, my much younger, vibrant, energetic, healthy younger sister died unexpectedly on vacation. Ridiculous. So if you knew my sister and knew that she went on vacation, never came home, there's irony there. But anyway, and I know that those things informed what was going on in my life 6 months later, where there was a promotion opportunity. And I wasn't really sure that I wanted it, but Erin, you've been in corporate, like you don't say no to these things. And I'm all in, and I'm running, and I'm going, and every step of the way I'm doing all the things, and people are liking what I have to say. And long story short, too late, I didn't get the job. And for about 15 seconds, I was like, well, they didn't pick me. They didn't like me. And then all of a sudden, this huge weight just flew off of my shoulders, and I felt like last day of school. And I thought, there's something wrong if I'm happy, that I didn't get this other big cool job. So that was an eye opener for me. And so I started thinking about, what's next? Is it here? Is it a different role? And what I was discovering is that I missed being at the flashpoint of actually helping someone. So
I love that you said that. That was one of my challenges. I missed when my job, like the company I was at was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And as a company gets bigger, your job gets smaller because everyone needs to be more and more specialized. And I found that I missed being at the edge of the growth.
Yes.
I don't know if you can hear what's going on here, but there's a dog sneezing. There's real world, people, real world.
Well, then we are even more kindred spirits than I knew, because it was literally that feeling that I don't know what I actually did that meant anything to anyone anymore. And it, on the one hand, it felt like kind of like, poor you. Oh, you're not getting, it's not about getting stroked. It's just about knowing that something that I did actually helped someone. So,
I used to say that I haven't thought about this in so long, which is a very, very telling indicator. I used to have a constant feeling that life was surreal. Like there was like the whole concept of schlepping across Chicagoland and working in a tall building. It was almost made up. Like there was no reality to it. I don't even know how to describe, and I loved it, and I did well. Like you, I had great success. I worked with amazing people, but I used to have this feeling all the time, like it wasn't authentic. It was contrived.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of all these companies? Why do we need all these? It was so weird. And hearing you say that, I honestly, I have not only have I not felt it, I didn't remember that feeling.
Yeah,
Long time since you just made that comment.
Those things seem so important, and the work seems so important, and the stakes seem so high. And I'm like, is it really?
Because there's 7
really?
other people, and one of which whom did get the job. So
1000%. Yeah. And I think now when I look back, I mean, you will understand, there was a ton of fear and weeping and gnashing of teeth and hand wringing. And I'm like, oh my God, who leaves a good job? Right? Who leaves 6-figure salary? I have a bonus. I'm hitting targets. I have great clients, a great team. My metrics, I'm doing well, right?
My first post-corporate job was working with families with aging parents, helping them downsize. So you don't want to be the person who tells your mother you're leaving a 6-figure income in the, marble conference room to go work in people's basements.
Yes. And I ended up about the same time that I'm going through all this stuff. I'd taken a meditation class or mindfulness class, and this woman happened to be a life coach. And so when I started having these, hand-wringing moments where I'm like, can I really do this? Should I really do this? I come from corporate stock. Like, I don't have entrepreneurs in my background.
Me neither.
We weren't self-employed. Like, I don't have that in my family or my sphere. We go to companies and we work for big corps and we stay there forever. So this was all very new to me. But I had my mindfulness meditation coach. I called her up. I booked some sessions, and she literally was the person who helped me get real, like just get serious about, if it doesn't feel successful to you, then it's not. And it's okay to be discontented with that. Just go figure out what does feel good.
And I think what you're saying now, though, is also equally important, because here's the thing. It is perfectly wonderful, acceptable to have a job and do a great job. It's also perfectly wonderful, acceptable to have a job that doesn't mean much to you, that pays the bills so you can go do 100%. Like, all of these things are perfectly acceptable. My caveat is that you've chosen the path. And what you're
Erin,
talking about is recognizing the right path, as opposed to following a given path just because it's a given path.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with entrepreneur is not for everybody. There's nothing wrong with, U-turn, holy crap, this didn't work, get me out of here, I'm miserable, 6-figure job, minimum wage job, whatever it is, as long as it's your choice. And I think it's the same thing that got me out of corporate. Was I was part of some really cool projects, and this didn't even have any effect on me. I was part of some really cool projects that after a year working on them, one of the players decided to, you know what, we're going to go in a different direction. And it all went away. And it had no effect on me. It didn't affect my paycheck. It didn't affect my bonus. It had no direct effect on me. But when I watched it happen, I'm like, what else could change that I have no control over?
Yes.
And that just was no longer for me.
Yeah. Nobody likes the rug pulled out from under them. And you can see when you start to see how quickly things can happen in a corporate environment. We get a little hung up. I think I was always pretty good at recognizing that my role was not, etched in stone. I was not indispensable. Companies make decisions all the time.
I thought I was very fancy and important.
Well, I guess
turned out to be the case.
But the companies that I was working in had always, we were public, we were private, we were acquiring, we were being acquired. Like, I was always in these places where there was a lot of turnover and there was a lot of change. And so I got pretty savvy to that, where I have always loved to mentor and just work with people, just for fun. Like, it brings me joy. I love to write a resume. I do that for fun. My mom's like, you should probably charge people. I'm like, no, because I love it. Like, it's fun.
This is my passion project.
That actually feels really good, because you're teasing things out of people that they can't even see in themselves. But when you're saying, when you're thinking about that, it's your choice, whether you're doing a minimum wage job so that you can do what really fulfills you, or maybe your job really does fulfill you, whatever. This choice element is super important, because there were times when I had roles where I didn't love my leadership. My direct manager was not my favorite person, and I was in a really bad place. I was in a really bad headspace for a while, and I would literally had a list, a piece of paper, where I wrote down, these are the reasons why I choose to stay. Because it was very important to me to say, if I'm not going to be miserable, there are some conditions here that I don't like, but I'm choosing to stay because I had like 10 really good reasons why this was still a good place for me to be. And that got me through that time period where I'm like, but I don't love this. There was enough benefit to not making a change, and it all worked out.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I know I really enjoy having conversations about who you need to be in order to reach new heights. As founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, I work with my clients at the intersection where what they need to do to succeed meets who they need to be to do it. If you would like to have a conversation about your business, please reach out to me at erin@conqueryourbusiness.com.
Well, and that's another important thing for me. I have a very hard time. I try to have empathy. I usually have empathy.
No.
I will eventually have a hard time with somebody who is in constant misery complaint about their circumstances, but won't do anything about it. And I understand
100%.
there's an entire subculture. And here's my other thing. You're going to so laugh at this. I've never, even when I was in corporate, I never understood working for the weekend. I never had that mentality because I never stayed in that situation. And then to take that a step further, my boyfriend had me, so he's in the financial planning world, and they came out with this tool, and he wanted to take the retirement compatibility, test quiz. Yeah. So he had gone through and did his, and now I was supposed to go through and do mine, and to see how compatible we were. And the first question, you're going to fall over. The first question was, at what age do you want to retire? To which I responded, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard. Why would I, I'm like, this is stupid. That's the dumbest. And he just looks at me because he gets it. He goes, listen, we all know you're going to drop it on a Zoom call. You're going to have to pull your computer out of your cold, dead hands. Just play along.
You're working for the weekend thing. That's where I would get the most frustrated with people who'd be like, 2 days till Friday. I'm like, no company is going to get.
Oh my God, I only have 2 days till Friday. Let's get it done.
Right. I have 2 days and it's not enough time. And I'm not giving anybody 5 days of my 7-day week. Like, that felt wrong. I never understood that. So I'd be like, really? Is that how you really want to live? Like, and if you're that miserable, then let's find you an exit plan. I did this with peers. I did this with a couple of managers that I reported to, where they're like, we would enter into these conversations like, well, what would be next for you? Like, I was always interested in helping people get to the place where they wanted to be.
So do you have any idea? And I don't have an answer to this because I have no idea. And I know several people who have no idea. So if you have an idea, it'd be wonderful. Or if not, that's a perfectly acceptable answer as well. Where did that come from? Because I have the same thing. I've always inherently, even in corporate, when they ask me, how long have you been a coach? Even when I was in corporate, I was a big mentor for younger professionals because this whole thing of you should be in charge of your life. I mean, I turned it into a business. I didn't think of it once I had a business. So where did it come from for you?
I don't remember a time when I wasn't the person that people came to bounce ideas off of.
Right.
I literally don't remember a time when I wasn't that person. I know it's in my 6th grade yearbook. Someone said, "Oh my God, you're the best listener. You always help me figure out what I need to do." Shelley,
now, my version of that, I guess, because that was not me at all. But my version of that, I had a conversation with a client who is always asking permission. And I said to her, I never ask permission. Like, it has never occurred to me that I'm not allowed to do whatever it is that I want to do. I don't mean from a asshole arrogant standpoint where you're breaking rules and not because being considerate is one of my top values. Consideration of other human beings is just one of my top values. So I'm not talking about being a jerk, but I mean in terms of life choices.
Yes.
It has never occurred to me that I'm not allowed, able, so I think my version of that is to help spread that.
I love that. I would say I didn't I grew into that, Erin. So I love to be around women who have figured that out. I didn't know that initially. I don't think anybody who knows me would say, ooh, she really stood on the sidelines. Ooh, she waited for someone to tell her she could. But I felt like I was expecting. And okay, in a corporate environment, right? Like, if you think about getting a job, you go through an interview process, and you may think you can do the job, but you've just convinced 5, 6, 10, however many interviews you have that you can. And then they say, great, we'd like to hire you. And you're like, great, I can do the job. Like, you knew it, but I needed permission. I needed someone to tell me I could do it. So I came to, as I've gotten older, I have learned I'm not asking for permission. I can just do. And frankly, especially out now in the short time that I've been out of corporate, it's very apparent to me. Nobody wants people want you to show up as your best self and bring everything that you have to help them and to serve them. And you don't have to ask permission to show up.
And I'll add authentic best self.
Yes. Yes.
Not not what you learned in corporate to fit in the box in order to get the next role, the next promotion.
Yeah, right.
Your authentic self and what you're doing inherently. And I would imagine your corporate success made it a little bit easier for you. But what you're doing inherently, and I watch a lot of entrepreneurs have this problem, especially in the beginning, because they're so desperate for clients, is you're showing up as a thought leader, not a, hey, over here, if you want help, I'm over here, vendor, but a thought leader in your in your genius, in your lane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead, if this is what you want, I can show you how to do it. Not a, oh yeah, I'm over here if you need some help, which just is a difficult approach for entrepreneurs if you're really going to succeed.
It is. And I can see the temptation of saying, I'm just over here and I can help you whenever you want. I can see the temptation because that's a safe thing. And I feel like I'm doing something, I'm doing the things, but you really aren't. And you're not going to get the kind of people that you want to work with, because a certain part of you just has to be out there living out loud, right? I'm not for everyone.
Scary,
I'm not everyone's cup of tea. They're not mine. Let's just get together with the right.
So, especially coming out of a job.
Yeah.
It is so scary to embrace that in yourself if you've never been allowed to have that. Right? I mean, my God, we talk about it. I talk about it like it's a given and it should be so easy. And it is, again, another thing that's simple, but I absolutely recognize that it is not easy. And it's an iterative process. I'm certainly more able to do it now than I used to be.
Yes.
I can only imagine where that's going to go. That's a little scary.
Can you live more out loud? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Nobody.
Let's find out.
So tell me now, I would love for you to share, let's share another learning curve story. What have you tried that just did not work?
Oh, yeah. So showing up with my corporate speak did not work.
Did not work.
No, that was like, work. It's just great. Good for you. I don't know what any of that means. Something that is working now, or can work when it's done right, is I'm naturally curious about people. So networking isn't super hard for me. I should say this. I'm not into small talk. So this is where I get into a little bit of a pickle. I am an introvert. I like dogs. I like coffee. I like books. I hate small talk. Like, that's my jam. Like, just, I want to get to the, like, this stuff. I want to get to the heart of it. And so in the beginning, I struggled a little bit with, well, how am I going to meet people? And again, it was, there's Zoom calls, you can do all the things, which actually is helpful to me in many ways. But there's this notion that when I'm networking, for me, I've had the most success being curious about other people. And so when I thought about networking initially, I had my old school handshaking, give me your job title. Like, again, corporate networking, whole different animal. I come out now. And so it didn't take me long because I actually prefer being able to meet people now in this different way. And I like it, but it was a bit of a stumbling block where I'm like, I'm not getting traction and it feels icky. And I don't like this networking nonsense. And it wasn't the networking at all. It was how I was doing it or what I thought it was.
Well, and I love, what you did just inherently was examine what was wrong and tweaked until you figured out how to do it right. You didn't abandon it.
No. There would be some level of activity. And I would say that I also accidentally, or the universe, gave me a gift. I met some really good people really quickly who were really good about giving me some referrals that I'm so grateful for 2 business coaches that kicked me referrals right off the bat. I'm like, I had, hung my shingle out for about 10 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, I have clients that don't know me personally. Like, that was huge. And yet it came out of networking. So there you go.
And so for me, when people ask me what the biggest surprise was about becoming an entrepreneur, was the networking, because I was scared when I left corporate. I'm a very collaborative person and I don't get good ideas. I don't get any ideas when I'm by myself.
Right.
And I need other people to start talking for my brain to start working. And the cat, much, not so great ideas. Like, she's very supportive. She'll sit with me all day if she needs to. Not great ideas. And coming out of court, and I had, like I said, I had great job, great people, smaller industry. So we were all aware of the fact we were like the redheaded stepchild in the insurance industry. So we had to stick together. But the idea that there could be a room filled with 50 people who want to help you succeed was mind-boggling to me. And I jumped into that. Like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. There is a room full of people to varying degrees. 90% of them actually want everyone to have a good business, right? I mean, there's people who do it better and people who don't do it better. That, to me, I never had any frame of reference or thought process. I had a corporate version of running a business, so I anticipated that. And in a million years, I never thought, how amazing is it going to be to meet hundreds and hundreds at this point, if not thousands, of other people who want to help other people, right? It's amazing.
It is amazing. And as as I'm getting more and more comfortable, my natural curiosity about people has taken over to the point where I want to be able to, I want to stable, I want to know people who who my people need. Super exciting to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just met someone. You need to meet Erin. Like, Erin's your jam. She will fix you up. Like, I want to be that level of sticky, so that when people come to me and I can't help them, or I've worked with a client and they need something else, there's more than just me. This is more than just me. I love that part of it.
And I think one of the things that served me well, and I don't know, fortunate accident, I literally have turned networking and referrals into what's basically a second job. I love connecting other people.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I bet you would. You're good at that.
And it's fun.
Yes.
Awesome.
It's fun.
So what's next for Tammy?
What's next for Tammy is being able to, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be able to help more people. My work is very mano a mano. I'm working with a client, we're solving something, and then we go away and then we come back, we pick it up. So I am very interested in what can I do? What have I produced? Basically, how can I expand my reach for more folks? And so that's really what I'm exploring and what I'm coming up with. And lots of people have done it, and I'm just tapping into the right people who can, help me figure out, I've got a thing. I know people need this. People are telling me they need it, but I would like to be able to do that to a greater degree.
And, my first thought for you is, much like the entrepreneur who thinks they're the only one who can do a thing and that stunts their growth, I also have seen, and what you're talking about is already working on breaking through that. I've also seen people who become so tied to their delivery system that right, and they can't get to the point of leveraging their time because they think it can only be done in a given way.
Yes. Yeah, I'm happy to say I don't know what the other way looks like, but I know it can be done.
Exactly. You don't.
I know there's another way. I'm gonna, and lots of other people have figured it out. So lots of smart people are doing this.
My brother and I have a saying for things like this.
What's that?
Dumber people than us have figured this out.
Figured it out.
It's not usually about business. It's usually about more mundane things that have us completely thrown in the moment. Like, for example, how do you open the gas cover on a brand new 2020 Chevy Equinox when you're in Florida at the gas station rental car thing and you can't figure out how to? That's what Google's for. But dumber people than me have figured this out.
Figured it out. Absolutely.
By the way, you touch it like a 1980s stereo cabinet. You just push on it and it pops up.
Oh, was that what you do?
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Okay, lesson learned. I'm informed.
Now you know. If you ever rent a Chevy Equinox and you have to refill it, that's how you do that.
Good to know. These are life skills, man. These are real life skills people need.
Thank you, Google. As I'm sitting in the gas station on the phone going, don't understand.
God, that's hilarious. Google has saved many an entrepreneur's ass.
I did feel better because as soon as I Googled, how do you open the gas cover? It filled in the rest on a 2020 Chevy Equinox. So it wasn't just me.
No, you were not the first or even the thousands to ask that question.
If people want to, continue chatting with you, learn about how you can help them, learn about how networking with Tammy is just so much fun. What is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
The best way for anybody to get a hold of me is old school email, tammy@nwvirtualsolutions.com.
Awesome. You're not hiding, I promise.
Nope.
No. Awesome.
Not in the least.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, your insights, your exuberance for what we're doing. I love it. It doesn't, I said, I'm sure you'll get this one. I didn't quit a 6-figure job to be miserable.
Amen to that, sister.
It doesn't mean it's not hard sometimes, but I did not quit and I did not do this venture in order to be miserable.
No, that's an awesome motto. And I totally believe that.
Thank you so much for being with me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for this conversation, Erin. It was awesome.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Ready Yet podcast. I get so motivated by the amazing accomplishments of the remarkable people I meet, and I'm excited to be able to share some of their stories with you. You can find more episodes of Ready Yet at your favorite source for podcasts or at conqueryourbusiness.com. And if you've already decided that you are ready to become the person you need to be to achieve your big goals, feel free to reach out to find out how I can support you in your efforts. Or check out the Work with Erin page on the Conquer Your Business website. I also invite you to share this podcast with anyone you know who loves to learn and be inspired. And if you're so inclined, I'd be absolutely grateful for any reviews you'd like to share as well. Thanks again for joining me. This has been Erin Marcus, hopefully inspiring and helping you to go conquer your big dreams.